Hello, welcome to the April edition of my vlog. Hey, 2023 is still rolling along. I'm recording this on the second to last day of April, so yeah, planned that really well. Unfortunately, things have really gotten away with me when I talk about sort of stuff, and then I'm just kicking the camera as well, so it's getting a bit of a wobble. Things have gotten away from me a little bit this month because of trying to plan for UK Games Expo, the manufacture of horticulture, and various other bits and pieces. So if we're just going to dive straight into it, let's get going. Okay, so straight onto the game design front then, I feel. The two games that I've been working on a lot during the last couple of months are one called Dragon Ranch, which is the one where you play a farmer, basically building a ranch to sort of reinvigorate, reintroduce the dragons back into this mythical land that I've made up. And this month I made the switch over to a physical prototype because it turned out that there was a local games designer who was willing to playtest it with me. We had a great time, found some bits and pieces that needed to be fixed, obviously. We're now what Matt Leacock calls the 80% done. Fine, you've got 80% left to go, Mark, which is brilliant. I'm really chuffed with the way that game's gone and really happy that I finally feel like I'm getting close to designing my White Whale game design of something a bit meatier, a bit heavier, which is brilliant. The second game that I've been working on is one that came together really quickly all of a sudden, which is bizarre. It's one where I couldn't nail down the theme, so it got called SpacePixelHax because I just couldn't pick a single theme. It's now been sort of tuned down into a spacey theme, which is fantastic. So the idea is that you are space scrappers with a mothership and little ships that you can send out to go and pick up scrap, drop this, refine it, or just drop it straight off at planets that are requesting these materials, for example. Go and collect batteries, fight space pirates, all the good stuff that you could do as a scrap merchant in space. And it's powered by a dice worker placement mechanic, where essentially there'll be dice that you place next to other dice, and the difference in the pips is how powerful that action will be. So, for example, if you took your red die and placed it next to the blue die at the battery depot or whatever it's called, you will get, and it's a 3, and you place next to a 1, it's a difference of 2, so you get 2 batteries, things like that. That governs the whole mechanics, and then there's elements where you can't place the same colour die next to another die, so that limits the amount of things that you can do, and you can use that to kind of block your opponents or change your tactics halfway through, that kind of thing. I'm just going to double check my levels. Good, and it's got my eye in focus. So there's that. So yeah, speaking of UK Games Expo, I'm working towards the 3 of my resolutions that I came up with back in January, one of which was pitch to at least 3 publishers. And with luck, we've managed to line up some publishers for pitching to at UK Games Expo this beginning of June. So yes, super stoked to find out if we've got the magic 3 number, or whether I need to find a few more towards the end of the year. But yeah, really chuffed. It's going to be a great time. I'm hoping to see some of you folks there as well. So, just to sort of show you what we've got, see what you've got. I mean, fellow designers, fellow games players, I would love to see what you guys have been up to as well. We're going to be selling tables, horticulture, ultra brawl, that kind of thing. I think I mentioned it in the last video, so I won't go back over it. But yeah, super chuffed and super ready to be back in the UK Games Expo mood. Okay, so just a quick rundown then of a few of the other things I've been doing this month. So one of the weeks was one of the ones where I was fortunately child-free for an evening, so myself and my wife went off and watched a couple of movies. Sorry, one movie actually. The D&D movie, Honor Among Thieves, I think it's called. Absolutely fantastic. If you get a chance to see it, it was really good fun. There's some truly hilarious moments in there with playing with the tropes of Dungeons and Dragons and monsters and elves and all that kind of thing. But really well done. It wasn't done in a, nerds kind of way. It was done in a, this is fun kind of way, more like an adventure, which was, really nice, really good fun. And then when we got the kids back, we went to the cinema again to go and watch the Mario Brothers movie, which was brilliant. It was really good fun. Loads of little Easter eggs. The voice acting was actually pretty good. I mean, I was a little bit worried about Chris Pratt, but it turned out, not too bad. And there was some genuinely funny moments. It's definitely a film for the kids. Obviously, because it's made by Illumination, who did Minions and Despicable Me and all that sort of thing. So don't go in there expecting to be loads of dirty jokes or I don't know, funny things for adults. It is mostly a kids' film, so if you lower your expectations, you'll be absolutely fine. Cool. Other stuff we've been up to, reading. So I finished that Stephen King book, and I finished the proofreading I was doing for my wife. all good books in the end. I then moved on to Ian Irvine, Geomancer, which is the weirdest paced book I've ever read. So the whole idea is like there's this lady called Tian, and she's working at a manufactory, something or other, to make something called controllers, which then power these things called clankers, which are basically like 8-legged robots robot tanks that can wander around with like javelins and cannons on the top. To fight off these species called the Lyrinx, which have just suddenly appeared somehow and are now wiping out all of humanity. Very dark. There's all sorts of like, you know, side stories and things on the back of that. But the pacing's just bizarre. So a lot of like the key events, like without spoiling anything, she makes like this helmet that lets her tune into like this particular magical field thing. That comes up a lot during the story, but the event of it actually being made and becoming important was like half a page maybe. And then there's this massive long chase sequence that seems to be taking page after page after page. It's weird. I just don't understand the pacing of this particular book, but you know, it's reasonably quick. It's a very easy read, a bit of a chonker. I don't know if I'll read the second one, but you know, we'll see how this one finishes. So that's been good. And what's else? Oh, video gaming. So I have been doing a bit of video gaming again. So Final Fantasy VII, still very much on the agenda. Really good fun, really enjoying it. I've got past the bit now where you end up doing a bit of cross-dressing to impress someone called Don Corneo, I think his name is in the game. He's just as seedy and wrong as he was in the first game, but it's played really well. There's some really lovely kind of, you know, talking about gender identity and the tropes that go along with that, and just basically telling you to be yourself. You know, don't worry about what other people think. You know, it is your identity. But I won't go too far into it. It's quite a heavy subject, and I'm not really the best person to speak about it because obviously it's not an experience I've lived through or have lived in. But yeah, I thought it was well done. Apart from that, we obviously, back off the back of the Mario movie, we then decided to go back and visit the game where they introduced Cat Mario, which is Mario 3D World or something like that. It was back on the Wii U, I believe, was when it was first introduced, and this game's really hard. Like, it's billed as a co-op, and I'm playing it with the kids, but the problem we're having is that one person will run straight off, one person will sort of lag behind, and it's got this mechanic where basically whoever's lagging behind will get picked up in a bubble and transported off to the person who's in the front. And then the bubble pops and you can carry on and do your little adventures. But quite often that person's either dived off a cliff or something like that and they've died, in which case if you're in the bubble, the whole game ends, like the whole level ends, and you lose loads of lives, and it's a bit tough. Also being 3D, it's got this weird angle, like because it's going to be lots of players all at the same time, there's no ability to sort of rotate the camera and move it around. So you end up stuck with this sort of diagonal, I don't know what they call it, isometric, when you're running at diagonals on a 3D plane. And I don't know about anybody else, but I find that when you're relying on going in diagonal directions, controllers are for that. They're just awful. I'll have to beep that out. They're just, I don't know, diagonals just really don't work. So there was like sections where you have to do lots of like precision movement or jumping from ledge to ledge, and because of the way that the ledges are kind of set up in a weird kind of angle, it's really easy to kind of just jump off at weird angles as well. It doesn't help that it's really, really manic. Like, you've got these 4 characters all bopping around, so you might suddenly like look at another character and then realise, oh, that's not me, down I go. Not sure where I stand on it. I think I'm going to try it single player on, you know, and in handheld mode on the Switch, see if that's any better, or whether I can even move the camera around if I'm a single player. But yeah, we'll see. I'm not entirely sold by it, but you know, it seems fun, seems colourful and bright. The kids are still enjoying it. So yeah, that's the main thing. So moving on to the board gaming side, not a huge amount of board gaming this month. So we got a few friends over, which was really good, and we played a few of the kids' games. So things like Tinderblox, which is really good fun. It's just like a dexterity game where basically you're building a campfire out of brown sticks, yellow cubes and red cubes, and you get given a card and you either have to use your offhand or your main hand or build this little tiny assembly before putting it onto the fire. If it falls down, obviously you lose, but the main conceit is that you have to use a pair of tweezers to do all the lifting and things. Really good fun, great for the kids, they absolutely love it. They do get quite stressed though when this thing just goes plop, because all the cubes and the sticks and everything are slightly different widths and stuff, so you get situations where like you'll try and pick up a stick and it'll just rotate inside the tweezers and then drop, but you know, still good fun. And then a couple of others like Peppa Pig's Balloon World, which was a bit rubbish. One more gamery game, I suppose. We did manage to play a bit of Batman Love Letter. That was really good fun. I forgot how much I love that game and how much more pacey it is than the original Love Letter. For those who don't know, like Love Letter is basically a micro game where you are playing. You have to, during your turn, you'll draw a card. It'll go with the other card that's already in your hand. You'll have 2 cards. You've got to pick one to play, and their effect is based on what kind of character they are. So if it's Batman, you're trying to guess what the other characters around the table are. I think Bane is the one where you get to compare with another player, and if your card has a higher number, you get to discard their card. And basically it's like a little bit of deduction, it's a little bit of knockout, that kind of thing, and then you're trying to be the last person standing or have the highest card. So like Joker's worth an 8, whereas Harley Quinn's worth a 7, that kind of thing, at the end of the round. And if you've got the highest card, you win a token. You also get tokens for guessing with Batman, which I thought was a fantastic addition to the game. And whoever's got 7 tokens wins. Really good fun. Hard to get hold of, I've heard, because the Batman license must have expired or something, but it is gorgeous, really cool production. Then there's also been a bit more HeroQuest. We're on the 13th mission now. We finished the 12th one today, so we are 2 missions away from finishing the base game, which is nuts to me. We must have gotten hours out of this thing. Great fun. Again, miniatures gorgeous, great fun little game. Obviously the mechanics aren't as modern as some of the games that we've played, so there are games nowadays that we enjoy more, but the kids have loved it. Like, it's so simple. Like, you just roll dice and it tells you exactly what's going to happen. There's no numbers or anything like that. It's like skull, that dead, shield, hooray, defended. So yeah, really enjoyed that one. And then the last one I played is, oh, hold on a sec. Meow. Where are you? So with a bit of the birthday money I had left from ages ago, I picked myself up this. It's a solo game called Under Falling Skies. It's awesome. It's kind of like Space Invaders meets a dice worker placement game, where you're placing these dice out into like a board right at the bottom, and that's you kind of building up your base, getting research, setting up attacks on these alien ships that are basically kind of dropping down. Your dice, though, dictate how fast those things will drop. So you might place a 5 in a column, and that will cause that particular alien to go 5 spaces down, which could be really bad, because then the spaces that the aliens land on could interact with the mothership, they could interact with you, they could stop your research, that kind of thing. It's really, really clever. I've only played the first level so far, really enjoyed it, but kicked its butt, so I'm thinking that's very much an introductory tutorial level. We'll see. I've been told the campaign is fantastic and really ramps up the tension. So, yeah, fingers crossed, that should be good fun. So, yeah, not a huge amount of gaming, but a little bit. Hoping to do a lot more in sort of May and in June time, when obviously UK Games Expo, loads of games, loads of prototypes, loads of pitching. It's gonna be great. Right, let me just quickly check my list. Okay, so I think that's going to just about do it for this month. So I'm just having a quick look. Another 20% battery just dead, and about 13 minutes of recorded material. So we'll see. I'm not really that bothered about how long this thing is going to be, but yeah, should be fun. Thanks very much again for listening to my rantings. It's probably only me that's going to be listening to this in about 10 years' time, or even next month. But yeah, I mean, still enjoying making these videos. I'm just going to record a few little bits of B-roll and then off we go. Right, anyway, cheers. Bye.